Paul Dennett's on the show. Paul, welcome. How are you? Are you there, mate?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, got you now, man. Got you now. Good stuff. Are you surprised that Tim Payne hasn't announced his team?
No, I think that they're just being a little bit taking advantage of the fact that you don't have to announce it till the last minute. Hearing what they're saying, they know, I think, that the 12 that they're going to pick, and it's just a question of whether the pitch is green enough to pick Peter Siddle for the 11. So the Australian journalists are kind of in no doubt who the 11 are going to be, other than that decision to be made.
Mitchell Starc, fitness concerns or not?
Yeah, I think it's partially that, and I think it's also partially that they're trying to be a little bit more attuned to conditions than they've been in the past. In the past, they've tended to be a little bit, we'll play the Australian way and the conditions can kind of adapt to themselves. And they've said, no, we want to be a little bit more humble this time round. Maybe Siddle is a better option, and maybe when we get to the second test with the slope at Lords, we can play Starc then. And they're going with a real squad mentality, which they've never done before, of not necessarily always just picking the best 11. They're going to have to rotate some of the fast bowlers, given that there are 5 tests in such a short space of time.
Regarding England's team selection, off the back of the fantastic World Cup performances, I'm a little bit surprised that Jofra Archer's not in there. What about yourself?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it probably is a similar category to Starc, that he will play a part in the series, and that maybe just at this first test match, they thought maybe the other grounds will suit him a little bit more. But, you know, they've also, as with Australia, both sides are very, very strong bowling sides, and it's hard to, whoever is going to miss out is going to be pretty unlucky. I'm also surprised that Curran hasn't been picked. I know that it'd be very difficult to squeeze him in, but last summer against India, he was the decisive player. And I must say, as an Aussie, I'm kind of happy that he's not in the side.
Obviously, from your point of view, Steve Smith, David Warner, Cameron Bancroft, the Sandpaper 3, they're all going to be involved doing their thing. And it's obviously the first time that they've been involved since that incident. You've got to expect a nice little warm welcome from the English fans, haven't you, when they walk out onto the pitch tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I think I'm actually over here. I'm going to be going to the game, so I'm really looking forward to it. And I think that it's going to be the biggest reception that they're going to get in the whole tour of the UK, because you know the Edgbaston ground, the reputation is it's the most atmospheric of all the England grounds, and especially now that Warner and Bancroft are going to be walking out to bat together. And especially if Australia don't bat first. Let's say England bat first and, you know, from an Australian point of view, hopefully get bowled out with an hour to go before stumps. And everyone's had a few quiet refreshments. And when those two walk out, it could be pretty amazing.
It could be pretty amazing. Regarding the actual matchups of the teams, as you're looking at this, we have recently, in recent times, kind of had the rhetoric going into an Ashes test where, I just hope it's not a whitewash or this, that and the other. I think this is really evenly matched. I genuinely can't pick a winner. What's the Australian thought process on how they're matching up going into this?
Yeah, I feel the same as you. But I must say that several of my friends and hearing talk in the media is that I'm probably a little bit more pessimistic than some. There's quite a bit of excitement and optimism from some people, indeed some people thinking that Australia is going to be comfortable winners. I can't see that unless conditions, which do play a part. If Australia get the best of conditions throughout, then anything can happen. But I'd be guessing something like a 3-2 result or something like that, and it may not even be close games. 2015 was 3-2, but all 5 matches were kind of very one-sided.
I like the optimism of completing all the games there, getting a 3-2. With our weather at this moment in time, my friend, we might get a couple rained off. The thing is, though, by saying 3-2, that just proves how the Test match game has, I suppose, developed over the last few years, because many a time it'd be a 2-1 or something like that with a couple of drawn tests. Now, with the way that these guys go about playing, you're normally getting the job done within the 5-day allocation.
Absolutely, and even beyond that, I've just bought tickets for day 4, and people are saying to me, "Well, you're optimistic to think it's going to go that long." Back in the day, when there were just dreary draw after dreary draw, the game has improved immensely, and it doesn't hurt the fact that both sides have got powerful bowling lineups and some question marks over their batting as well.
Off the back of the World Cup, I know it's a totally different format, but the Australians can't let us have two, can they? You know what I mean? We've had one. You can't let us have bragging rights all summer long, can you?
Well, I hope not. But if it did come to pass that way, well, at least it'd be good for the game in England. It seems. For me, having just arrived here, that it does seem to be a little bit more high-profile cricket than I remember 6 years ago at the start of the Ashes in 2013. Maybe that sort of bubble from the World Cup is continuing along, and it could not say it's going to knock football off the back page as it did in 2005, but it's got a bit of profile that more than I expected.
What did you make of England's game against the Irish?
Well, amazing. To score 80-something and then for that not only to be not the lowest total in the match, but to be more than double the lowest total. I think that every neutral person watching that was cheering Ireland on. Nothing against England, but it would have been it would have been good for the game. And I think that Rick Finlay, Australian cricket statistician, said that in his opinion, every batting side in history would have really struggled in those conditions against that bowling attack on the final day. Not that they would have been bowled out for 38, but it's a pity. If it had been a nice sunny day, and even if Ireland had fallen short, I think they deserved a little bit more than to sort of have that sour taste at the end.
Just a final one then, Paul, before obviously I'll let you get some kit before the game gets underway. A lot of British fans listening to this right now, they know who Warner is, they know who Smith is, and you mentioned Mitchell Stark before and the Siddles of this world. Who in this side is the young up-and-comer? Who's the one that you think might be the superstar that comes through and maybe wins a couple of games for Australia?
Well, James Pattinson is the one that, he's not quite so young anymore, but he hasn't played for quite a long time. He's been battling all manner of injuries. He's even had back surgery, and there wasn't that long ago that it was a question of not a question of him returning to the Australian side, but that he probably could never play any form of cricket ever again. He's a real fast bowler of the classic quintessential slightly mad kind of character. And
we're going back to the days of Merv Hughes. Is that what we're doing?
I think so, yeah. Yes. But the difference is he's probably got another 5 or 8 miles an hour on Merv Hughes in terms of speed. Wow. He has this habit of flaring his nostrils when he gets fired up, and it's if I was a batsman, it'd be quite an intimidating sight. So I think he's definitely the one to watch. And Matthew Wade, also not young, but a bloke who's was dropped and forgotten, really, has reinvented himself as a top order batsman. He'll be exciting to watch as well.
He's the keeper, isn't he? Is he? Or I know that Tim Payne is obviously the captain and the keeper, but will Matthew Wade take the gloves at any point?
I don't think that's planned. He'd be a reserve option if needed, as is Cameron Bancroft. But I think that the plan is, unless they're springing a surprise on us, that Wade will bat at 6 and Payne will bat at 7 and Payne will keep.
Okay, cool. Nice one. Thanks, Paul. Enjoy, my man. All gets underway. You'll be able to hear a bit of the coverage here on talkSPORT and talkSPORT throughout the course of the day. The Ashes between England and Australia all getting underway from Edgbaston later on.